Hey everybody, it is Taylor of Summerdale Soul here. Today I have a special treat for myself. I'm finally putting together my QuickJack that I've had for a hot minute now. I've got the space, I've got the time, and I'm hoping it really helps me kind of speed up the process on my just general maintenance for all these cars. Jacking things up has always been entirely too time consuming, so fingers crossed that this goes together smoothly.
So to get this thing started, you'll need some Allen keys, jack oil, and an air pump. Preferably something that's going to be pretty tame. I used a bike pump and it worked perfectly. To make any newcomers aware, I'm not a professional. Please read the instructions. That's what I did to go through this, but double check my work. And another thing to check before you get started is the direction on your QuickJack. There is a directional factor in this, which you will see throughout. With all of that out of the way, we can get to work. Bust out that Allen key I mentioned earlier to pull this hydraulic plug out of the way. Now for the first bit of hardware. You're going to pull off that cap on both sides, screw this in, and try to get this in a position where you've got plenty of clearance so you can connect the hose to it later on.
So this does not need thread sealant.
For my setup, I'll be running the outlet toward the rear of the car. The plan is to run the hose underneath this and out the back so it doesn't get pinched. And here's that hose I just referenced, where you will see one end that will connect to that hose and the other that goes along with the hardware for the quick release. Now I know you're excited, but you will have to make sure you seal this bad boy up, which does require time. So even though you can get everything set up today, you're going to want to make sure this cures for basically overnight, which is always a bummer. You don't need too much of this. You don't want it gooping up in between your lines and potentially running inside internally. That would be a nightmare. So just give it a little bit, get that nice and threaded on there, and give it time to seal. With the hardware connected and torqued down off camera, I run the quick release side down through and underneath that frame. You want to make sure this isn't going to get pinched underneath the weight of the QuickJack. There's a process to kind of get it behind there, which I will show you in a moment, but now I'm ready to seal the other side. On this end, I did not need the sealant. I made sure it was securely on there, and it's good to go. Alright, on to the next bit of hose. We've got two quick releases here, and this is tricky to manage. It's like wrestling a 10-foot snake. Don't. Once again, and now with very uncooperative hair, it's time to apply some of the sealant. Again, I didn't want to use too much. You don't want to contaminate the inside, and you don't need too much on those threads to actually get a good seal. Plus, I wanted it to dry as quickly as possible. I want to play with it. It is a good thing I am so muscular. Really, not easy to get on. So strong. And again, use the old 2-wrench trick to make sure this sucker is good and secure on both sides. Get them both down. You get it. Okay, this part was surprisingly difficult, and it's something that you're supposed to be able to do pretty frequently, but again, with all my muscles, was not the simplest part of this. Essentially, one plug just goes into the other, but it might take more force than you expect. Once you get them connected, though, make sure the security clip is twisted so it doesn't slip out. So anyone who knows me knows I hate pressurized things, yes, including balloons. So yeah, I was a little nervous. That's fine. Basically, this is the part where you have to depressurize the QuickJack so you can properly fill it up with air. I just used like a little football needle to poke the thing in the center, and that released the pressure. And now I get to fill it back up. So these are actually pretty sensitive to air pressure. You don't want to go above 50 PSI. So what I would do is pump a few pounds over that, and then when I released it, you'd obviously lose a couple of pounds. So sitting right under 50. I'm sorry. What? Well, here we go. With all my hoses connected, I'm ready to attach this to the power supply. I think. Mechanically ready, spiritually not. And of course, there are more plugs. You'll want to be careful taking these out because I actually broke a plastic one in here and it was not easy to get out. I had to get creative, so just make sure you're actually spinning this and not just tearing it. Hey, look at that. It's like it was easy. The beauty of editing. With the stubborn plugs out of the way, I'm ready to attach the quick releases mounted on the power unit. The power unit that I will turn on, that hopefully won't explode, and will lift my car without dropping it. That one, right? So, a handy tip I learned from doing it the hard way first. It's actually easiest to plug these in bottom to top. You just get a little bit more clearance, so you can get some better leverage there. Because again, they're kind of hard to plug in, but I guess that's good. Because, you know, explosions. With both of these hoses plugged in bottom to top, I'm now ready to handle this rat's nest of cables. So I took my sweet time unwrapping everything, but I can't delay any longer. It's time to fill it with jack oil. Don't. This is why I can never have a freaking manicure. So for anybody new here, of course, you can fill this up with a funnel, but I couldn't find one. I'm stubborn. I did it the hard way. Shocking. So I started with 2 bottles of this, but actually ended up needing to pick up a third down the road, so just be prepared. And here's where maximum paranoia kicked in. Full tilt. Is it too far forward? Backward? Maybe both? I don't know, but I can tell you I really miss this pair of safety sandals that Scout chewed up. They were so cool. So what I'm specifically checking for here is making sure that I've got the right direction because this will lift up and forward a bit, but also there's a chance that the clearance might not be enough for the inside of the tire. The same goes for the rear, so I'm trying to make sure I'm not going to get any rubbing as this goes up. Don't! Okay, here we go. The last step, for real this time, is plugging it in. The fear is real at this point because not only have I treated myself to something that I normally wouldn't, but I'm also terrified that I will break it. I made sure my breather valve was open and hoped for the best. Here we go. Fret not if you too are at this stage. Do not panic from the delay. The hydraulic fluid just takes a second to get into all the hoses. But when it does... Whoa. All right, here we go. Ah! It's a pretty good feeling. The manual does recommend checking all 4 corners before going any higher, so keep that in mind. Oh my god, this is amazing. That's so scary. Oh shoot. Seeing tires, that's not good. Bring these up for sure. Okay, current adjustment, hitting the rear tires, gonna scoot these up. Ran around again, readjusted everything, scooted the frame forward so I didn't have any rear tire interference. And I think we're good to go. Is sick. And no matter how you lift it, it's always important to make sure the car is stable. How you doing, girl? Feeling sturdy. So now let's see how it is to bring it down. That is so cool. Oh my gosh. Woo! And of course, before I ever work on anything under the car, I want to make sure that this is physically locked in place and not relying on the hydraulics to keep the car up. With this in position, it's good to sit as long as I want it to. So there you have it. I finally got myself a fancy treat that will make this a lot easier to work on going forward. If you're here, there's a good chance you have a fancy treat yourself. But if you're one of my amazing followers, thank you as always for watching and following along. Hit F in the chat to pay respects to the safety sandals no longer with us, and I'll catch you next time.